Born in 1882, George Earl Resler grew up in St. Paul's West Side neighborhood, across the river from downtown, a vantage point which would inform his work in different ways throughout his life. As a young man, Resler taught himself the intaglio printmaking processes of etching and dry point printing, both of which rely on making impressions from ink-filled lines incised on metal plates. Some of his first prints were produced on a homemade press, hand-built with help from his father. Alongside fellow printmakers like Gilbert Fletcher and Samuel Chatwood Burton, George Resler was among the first generation of printmakers in Minnesota. Although fine art printmaking was never a primary source of his income, he was an incredibly prolific artist. The Minnesota Historical Society holds more than 200 images by Resler in its fine art collection. Adept at and primarily remembered for portraiture and landscapes, subjects that he often returned to throughout his career as an artist, Resler also skillfully captured the capital city of St. Paul during the 19-teens through the 30s. Many of the locations depicted by Resler remain prominent fixtures in the city today, including the Landmark Center, the West Publishing Building and the St. Paul Hotel, Rice Park, and the Wabasha Street Caves. During the 1920s, at a time when Resler was very artistically active, the art of etching experienced a revival in America. Resler, among other Minnesotan printmakers and painters, was influenced by the art of James Abbott McNeill Whistler. He and other Whistler Club members would gather at a vantage point across the river from downtown to compose cityscapes, often working late into the night. Resler's love of the city also becomes apparent as he conveys its beauty in routine, everyday scenes. Often, though, his further examination of the city reveals it as not only a place of beauty, but also a place of struggle. Perhaps because of his working-class roots, Resler empathetically depicts the living and working conditions available for recent immigrant Minnesotans of the time, which is apparent here in a series of prints that poetically capture laborers at the brickyards on St. Paul's West Side near his boyhood home. Today, Minnesotans can understand Resler's visions of St. Paul as remarkably rendered scenes of places that are both familiar and indicative of an earlier era in Minnesota's history. This is Ben Gessner, Collections Assistant at the Minnesota Historical Society.